Hey, Christine, thank you very much for being here with me.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Today, our talk is about artist residency because I heard that you're launching an artist residency in Boston, and that's the first edition. Can you talk to me more about it? What's the program?
Sure. Very excited. We at Beacon Gallery, in our nonprofit arm, Beacon Gallery Consulting, along with the Arts Administration Association of New England, are going to offer a 5-week artist in residence at Beacon Gallery. Applications are open now through April 30th. And then we'll be choosing the artist by May 15th or so. And then we'll be choosing a curator after that. So, yeah, we're really excited about it.
I know the deadline is coming up, so in like 9 days, so it's very tight, but is anyone welcome?
While it's called an artist in residence, we unfortunately can't offer lodging. We're offering a $1,500 stipend for the 5 weeks that people can use as they please to cover supplies, travel, lodging, whatever they want. A lot of artist in residence programs actually require that you pay. And so this is our way of kind of acknowledging that finding a place to stay in Boston and all the materials and supplies that can be a challenge, and because we can't offer you a place to stay, this is like our recompense for that. But you will have the person who applies and does get it would have use of the 1100 square foot or about 110 square meter gallery space, and that's like a full gallery space, and then there's a small extra room at the back. We have a kitchen, we have a bathroom. They can't live there. It's not a living space, unfortunately. The idea is that the person will work for about 4 weeks or so, and then the fifth week or the last 3 days or so will be an actual exhibition. During the time going up to that, we're hoping to offer some studio visits to collectors, bring some people who are interested in to meet the artist, do some artist talks, things to really help get their name out there, support the artist in kind of practicing with that sort of activity, and also bringing in the curator. And I'll be working with them as well to kind of just see how the work's coming along so that they're not just kind of put in this room and say, okay, now you have 4.5, 5 weeks, make some stuff, and then we'll be showing it. So it won't just be that.
I see. So the perks that you're offering, first of all, exhibition. The exhibition will be taking place in the gallery, in the Beacon Gallery, right?
Yes.
And during the exhibition, they can sell their works. So that's a possibility, right?
Yes, correct. We'll be taking a 25% cut, but the artist will get 75% of anything that sells, and everything will be exhibited on the walls. We'll help get that all set up. They can make things that are in situ that kind of just be shown in the gallery for those 3 days, or things that they can then take along with them afterwards.
You have the exhibition and the chance to sell I think is the primary perk that you're offering. Then you're also offering networking opportunities for the artist to meet local professionals. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, we'll kind of see how this all comes together. This is the first time we're doing it, and anytime you do something for the first time, it is a process of growth. I mean, every time you do something, you probably learn a little bit and learn how to do things better. But what we are hoping is to do artist talks and studio visits. It really will be kind of like an opt-in sort of situation. So depending on who's available to come in and do those things, we'll obviously be putting out some feelers, and we'll see who in the community, in terms of professionals, collectors, people in the institutional world, might want to come in. They might come, or it might just be local art enthusiasts. You never know. Those are the people that this artist would have an opportunity to engage with. Either way, every time someone does a studio visit or an artist talk, it's a chance to hone one's craft, talking to people and getting one's message tighter and tighter. And so hopefully we can help the artist with that side of things as well. And then the other opportunity is hopefully going to be working with a curator, and that's going to be from the Arts Administration Association of New England. And we will be selecting that individual once we've selected the artist. We were thinking of doing it at the same time, but we decided that we needed to first have the artists so that we could then have the curators apply to ensure that it would be a good match, and that the curators who were coming on board kind of knew who they would potentially be working with. So this will be someone who is probably an up and coming curator, someone interested in the curatorial world, someone who's interested in hopefully writing about this person, will hopefully be able to maybe do a piece of writing, an article, or an essay, exhibition essay on this individual, as well as offer studio visits and feedback to the artist.
That's a very interesting aspect to bring a curator on board into the project. So the curator will be selected by the Artist Association of New England on their side.
Yes, on the Arts Administration Association. Arts administrators would include some curators. So that's like a group that they can belong to. They would apply through a separate channel.
Do you plan to perhaps also select the curator on your side? I mean, as I guess the second, third time, you know.
The Arts Administration Association of New England is run by a very good friend of mine, Claudia Fisk. I put a lot of faith in her, and I think that her and I will be working very closely with one another, both for the selection of the artist and the selection of the curator. I think that this should go well, and she is the person who has this vast network of curators from which to draw. We'll see how things go, but I think it should go well.
Can you talk to me a little more about the role of a curator in an artist career?
Sure. So in a way, gallerist can kind of be one type of curator. For instance, and my role is beyond that because I'm like the director of a gallery. So I kind of have all like the business roles as well. But then when I'm selecting the art that goes on the wall and writing things for a show, that's kind of when I'm putting them on my hat as a curator. And that's really what curators will do, is that they are the ones conceiving of an exhibition and on a grand scale. And so for artists to get on the radar of curators is something that's very important. And that can be something that's quite difficult to do. It's one of the kind of like dream jobs, is to be that person who gets to decide what goes on the walls, what goes on the walls of the museum, for instance. Because the curators are the ones who are writing those wall texts. They're the ones who say, okay, we're going to put these two artists together. We're going to show this. We're going to do this. They're the ones who decide we're going to do the Leonardo da Vinci retrospective or something like that. And then we'll spend 5 years working to make that a reality. And they'll have people potentially working underneath them as well. And it's the type of job that you have to like really work your way up, where you start as like and you usually start going and getting a master's degree or a PhD, and then you have to kind of like start as like an associate or assistant curator and really do all the grunt work until you can take on some amazing roles. And there are some real star curators out there. For artists to get noticed, it's a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge for me to bring in curators, because these are the people who we all want the attention of.
The gatekeepers.
Yes, they're the gatekeepers. But I think that they are looking around and trying to be aware and looking and seeing who the next crop of curators are. So the people who are joining these associations, the arts administrators, the people who are just coming out of graduate school in art history, and who are kind of like that lowest rung on the ladder. These are the people who are going to be like the next generation. And so it is good to kind of like befriend those people, pay attention to those people, and know that like these are the people who are working their way up. And that's probably the time to kind of like get on their radar, not the, Eva Raspini at the ICA, who's like one of the top curators in the world. It's amazing. But even those people, if you go to enough exhibitions and openings, you might have a chance to talk to them. But that's not the time to like start showing them your portfolio again, as we've discussed.
Yeah. I can imagine. I've met some young artists very keen, and he would go everywhere to every single exhibition because I could see him wherever I go, and just showing people his work, and he's just absolutely looking, in a way, desperate. What do you think? What's the best way to approach a curator?
See if you can have someone who introduces you. The whole like word of mouth is an amazing and powerful thing. The more natural that it can be, the better. But also trying, I think that these are people who look into, what's happening around them. And so they should be looking at the galleries and they should be kind of paying attention to what's happening in their local art scene, in my opinion, at least. I mean, if a curator ever watches this, maybe they'll be like, well, I don't need to do that. But like, because obviously it depends on where they are. This is really only valid, as we're speaking for contemporary
Yes.
art. So I can really only speak to a small fraction of this. But I think that for everyone out there who's involved in this field, constantly seeking out new knowledge is probably how we continue to grow and hone our craft. Is if whether that's reading or writing or visiting or just looking around, I think that's always a healthy thing to be doing. And the way that you can get noticed is the same thing for gallerists, because eventually, in a way, we are the curators of our own spaces. So it's going to be the same thing. We are in a way prospecting for new talent as well. And then often curators are coming to us to then prospect for what they want to be showing in museums.
I think I see two problems. The first problem being if an artist is approaching a very young curator, let's say they're both very young, the chances of them succeeding together, maybe some artists don't want to wait, right? Or maybe some curators looking at a very young artist thinking he's not ready. So it's almost like fruits. You see different
Mm-hmm.
stages of fruitation, and it has to go together well in a salad bowl, right? You don't want a fruit that is too mature, ripe, another one that is too young. And another problem is that getting introduced to a curator is like if you don't know anyone, then how can you? So do you see artist residency as the store opener, like the first stage?
I may have to answer that question after I've done it and see if, see if any curators want to show up. I think that it's similar to getting a gallery show, though. It's something that you put on your CV and it helps kind of give you more credibility. To your first question, there are definitely artists that I've seen and that I've said to myself, this is a good artist, but he needs more time to mature. I feel like interestingly, that has happened and I've seen these artists mature and, it always hasn't worked out that I've been the one to work with them, but I've seen them then have a show and that it's gone really well after a couple of years, after they've managed to kind of like start really getting in the groove of making that type of work. So things can happen on like, we're talking about a 5-year timeline here. I've also had someone I know who was working as a writer on a local art magazine who's now an assistant curator at a local museum. Like the people in the arts world are kind of constantly moving around. And so I think it really is important to be nice to everyone. I would say, like, I think that people can sometimes get upset if they feel like they get a piece of feedback that they don't like, but I would recommend that you don't burn any bridges. As unhappy as you may be about something, try to be as professional as you can at all times, even if you're swallowing a very bitter pill, because you never know when you're going to run into that person again and in what capacity that they may have taken over. Might be a surprise. People just kind of like all run in the same circles and everyone shows up in Miami and everyone shows up in Venice and everyone is in New York. I am not in any of those places right now, so what can I say? But like so if you kind of like are physically in enough places at enough times, you will start to see the same people. Once you recognize their faces, sometimes you can go up to them and introduce yourself. You don't have to necessarily be introduced by someone else, but you can find your moment. There are ways to do it.
Don't people think that if you're trying to network too much, going everywhere, then they would start thinking, oh, maybe you're not working enough, right? Like as an artist, you still need a lot of time to work on your art, research, and plenty of other responsibilities, even on your own communication, marketing. That's a big chunk as well. So there is an impression, right? At least this is the impression that I have sometimes when I see the same face popping up, and I was like, don't you have something better to do? Like that. What do you say?
The first thing I would say is that most people are too focused on their own lives to think about what everyone else is doing and who's showing up at what and where. But I would say like that's one of the reasons that I'm not in Venice. I just like don't have the time for it, you know? It's like we're all trying to run our own lives and there's just only so much we can all do. And so you do have to make choices about what's important and how you're going to do it. And unfortunately, everyone's career requires sacrifices and trying to figure out and maybe some shortcuts or trying to figure out what you think will work, and maybe you attend this event and not this event, and hopefully you'll see these people, and maybe you do 3 things a year or 3 things a month, and hope that you attend the right things and the right type of curators are going to be showing up. I mean, there are a million different choices out there and we're all making them, and you can't do everything, and it's kind of a crapshoot in terms of what's going to work.
The artist residency project that Beacon Gallery offers, how does it fit into an artist's ambition? Let's say
It's another crapshoot.
you're just being modest. What do you envisage the role it plays in an artist development?
Unfortunately, like this time of the year in the summer can be kind of quiet. But what I like is that we're hoping that that will offer this person a chance to kind of work and then really have a strong few day exhibition that we can kind of get a lot of people in because it's so short. They can then have our gallery on their resume as well. Even by applying, people are coming to our attention. And this is what I've had to explain a couple times to people is that, whatever kind of artist you are, emerging, mid-career, I've had a few people kind of like debating like, oh, should I even apply? A lot of times it breaks my heart when I can't accept all these people, because it's like you get amazing work and you're like, oh, I can only choose one person. And that other people are going to be like insulted that you haven't chosen them. But it's like, you can only choose one. I'm sorry. And sometimes you'll just come across fabulous work. And even applications sometimes are a chance to get on the radar. And this application's free. It's like a little Google form that you have to fill out. We've tried to make it rigorous but painless, and so that it can be filled out kind of all in one go. There's no reference letters. We ask for names of references, but no reference letters or anything like that. So you should just be able to kind of like, boom, fill it out if you already kind of have your artist statement and things like that and CV already and some images. Yes, my idea is to kind of like help people get on the radar there. And then, if we like you, maybe we'll keep you on and do something else with you. And if not us, then maybe we'll have some ideas for some other spaces that you can work with. There's nothing I really like more than kind of sitting down with an artist and talking to them about their career. I mean, I do that. I'll do portfolio reviews and mentoring of artists on a regular basis. That's a service I offer. And so, like, I'm sure I'll be sitting down and talking to this artist, if that's something that they want, about where they're hoping their career will go. Hopefully this will be seen, in the end as a positive experience that does kind of help propel them forward and offer insight on where they hope their career goes.
By the way, Christine has a coaching session on our Patreon. So if you are interested in getting in touch and have a personalized advice and monthly coaching session with her, you can check out. I'll put a link in the description below. Coming back, I do have a question. You just mentioned if the artist has an artist statement, resume. I know a lot of artists don't really have a solid resume yet, and they don't really know what to put in. Like, I also see some resumes are being a little, this is very rare, but I do see it once or twice, that is blown out of proportion. Like someone would have a show next to Venice in June, and then this person would say, oh, I'm in Venice. Like it's not being very accurate or honest even. There is actually a joke in China. We say Uber Eat. the driver deliver food that ask you, hey, sir, where is the Avenida Salamanca? And then you say, here it is. And then you put on the resume, I gave directions to the Fortune top 50 company. I give advice, right? This is just a joke. But, there are artists who are trying to put a lot of effort into making their CV very glamorous. What do you see how artists should approach when they literally don't have much to say?
I've worked with a few artists who, yes, have kind of been in that position where they've struggled to know what to say. And I would say I've never had anyone that I feel like hasn't been truthful. I've gotten people's CVs that are as long as my arm, like 5, 10 pages. I would recommend that people edit down till about 15 shows. I would say you can go maybe 4 pages max. Yes.
What if there is not even one? That's the problem. Rather
Yeah.
than edit down to 15 shows, I would say that's like,
Okay.
of course, there are both problems. There is a problem that is you have to select down. Like you have to select the essence, the best out of your career to put into the 2 page of resume. Yes, that I totally agree. But what if they don't have not even a show to write and they want to apply to the residency and they look at the form to fill and they're like, I don't have nothing else except for the school that they are doing or graduating from, a bachelor's degree, and they don't have anything else. What do they do?
Usually, when you graduate from even undergrad, they'll have a senior show. So you should be graduating. If you've gone to art school, you should have a show. Even if you haven't gone to art school, I would say still apply. I'm not looking at people's application in terms of like who I'm going to take for this or not. If we're talking talent, like no one should be excluded based on their pedigree. What I often will suggest people do is have a section on collections. That if you're in any sort of, we'll start with like the fancy stuff, which is like the institutional collections or businesses, then you can like write, Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. And then if you're in that collection, Boston, Massachusetts, or if you're in like a hospital, like Dana-Farber Institute, Boston, which is like it's a cancer hospital here. If you're not in that, and let's say you've given your mom and dad a painting and they live in Washington, D.C., you would be like, private collection. So you've given it to them, right? You are still being completely honest in saying Washington, D.C., or private collection, Washington, D.C., okay? And then you have them in your own house. Say, private collection, Boston, Massachusetts. You are being completely honest there. They are in a private collection. It's your private collection, but like you should at least have your paintings that you've given to people, or if you've sold them to someone as well. You sold it to one person and they live in Miami, Florida, right? And you write private collection. Private collection is the key for any person who cannot be named. And even if you sold it to a celebrity, they should still be listed as private collection, okay? Unless they've specifically said that you can use their name, or they're like so famous that the collection is a named collection. That, and still you might want to confirm that you're allowed to use it. The private collection, and then the city state or the city and the country. So that is something that I almost always encourage my artists to bookend with. So if your entire CV is like your contact details, your school, maybe your one show, and if the show is coming up, you can put future show, like expected or like, upcoming shows, something like that. And then your collection list at the bottom. And that, if you kind of space it right, should give you like 2/3 of a page. So that's where I would start, and know that every time you do a show, you're going to have more, and start applying to stuff, to art associations. And you can also put your memberships on there. Join a couple art associations. So any professional memberships you have should also be on there. So people see that you're like serious about your career. And that's one thing that like may not be adequately understood, is one of the things that gallerists are looking for is artists with staying power. So there are a lot of people out there who are good and that are artists, but they might be more like dabblers, or people who are going to do it for 3 or 5 years and then say like, nah, this isn't really for me. I'm going to, I don't know, go be a banker or whatever, something that like makes more money or isn't quite as hard, because this is a hard field. And those are not the people who are going to end up in museums. If you don't have the staying power to kind of do this for like 20 or 30 or 40 years, then that's not someone that we can really afford to invest in. And so we're really looking for the people who like are dying to be artists for the rest of their lives. And so the more you can show that, the better.
Usually you show it through the commitment. That means the school, the past track record. If you can prove that you've been doing that for 3 to 5 years already, then you probably can do it for another 3 to 5 years, right? So if this person is really young and didn't study art, what else can this person do to say that this person is committed to this career? For example, going to artist residency, I would say it's a very good effort that you have actually relocate yourself and worked during the time, and then people can see, oh, you've been the artist in residence for 6 months. They know that you've been working for 6 months at least, right? Would it be a highlight of an artist resume, or is it something not enough?
So Beacon Gallery's Artist in Residency program, and a few other spaces that have them, are going to be a nice addition to someone's CV, we'll say. But then there are some that, if you do it, are going to be the absolute highlight of your CV. So if you get into Skowhegan, for instance, which is here in the Northeast, it is pretty much the ultimate stamp of approval on you as an artist. Another one's like Vermont Studio Centers is, very well respected as well. Those are just two off the top of my head, so I am apologizing in advance for every one of the amazing residencies out there that I have forgotten. As I'm not an artist myself, I have not applied to and been rejected from all of these repeatedly. Going to those places are great because that is also where you network. And that is also a place where curators will go and visit and talk to you, and gallerists will go and visit and like kind of talk to the groups. I think this is my understanding. And like people pay attention to people that come out of those programs. It's kind of like people pay attention to those who come out of Yale. Yale is like kind of the ultimate art school in America. And people get like extra points for doing certain things like going to Skowhegan, going to Yale.
Yeah, but then talking about going to Yale, because my school, the not the current one I'm enrolled in now, I'm in a PhD program, but the previous one I graduated from is a business school that is a brother school of Yale, and I checked their program, their fees, and I realized it's overwhelming amount of money. So I would say, in a way, that they also want to see your financial stability. If they see that you have rich parents, you can afford it, then it's another kind of a plus point, because then they know that you can afford, as long as you want to keep working on your art, you have the resources to do that. Then, talking about this, wouldn't it be also a nice addition if someone is paying for a very fancy program? What is your impression? Is it a good thing? Then you know that this person has the financial backup. Or do you think it is not a wise move?
So I wouldn't know off the top of my head which programs are things that people pay for and which ones people don't. I also think that there's a lot of, I would guess, financial aid that is provided at various programs, so that if there are talented artists who are applying who can't necessarily afford it, they may be funded by those who can. And I would imagine that Yale is the same way, that not everyone is paying the full tuition to attend, that there are probably scholarships and financial aid that's provided. So no, I'm not ever really looking at an artist's financial capabilities when I'm thinking about it. I do, always want to do everything that I can for my artists to help them be successful. And I feel like it puts even more pressure on me if I know they're trying to live off of their art. And that really weighs on me, to be honest with you. Knowing that they have maybe a job that gives them some financial security and health insurance, because unfortunately, health insurance in America, for the most part, is tied to employment, does, I don't know, alleviate that a little bit. But I think that, and I feel like maybe artists feel the same way, that they're trying to make sure that I'm not disappointed in how a show goes. But I also feel the same way, that like I always want to do everything that I can to help my artists. And the last couple of years have been hard. We're just all doing the best we can. So that's a little off topic, but there you go.
Yes, because in the last video we talked about if you mind or not the artist has a day job or has young children or have other responsibilities. And you told me that you would not mind if they have some other things going on in their life. But there are different business models. There are also gallerists who would prefer an artist who is just very productive and offer at least 10 pieces of work every month. You are not, you know, shaking the artist to say, give me some more work. So you're like more relaxed because everything that you do is scheduled, right? Because you told me last time that is the artist would have a solo show every a year and a half. So they're like, they know they will save for it.
Things are scheduled. I have the next 2 years scheduled out, 2023 and 2024. So the artists all know when they need to be showing. They are not expected to provide me with any additional work outside of that time. If they want to, and they want me to be posting that work or trying to provide collectors with that work outside of that time, they can. And I would say that I represent and enjoy the fact that I represent a lot of female artists. And I'm not sure if you can hear my children shouting downstairs, but I have two young boys myself. And so I am very aware of the way in which women have to often divide our attention and divide our time. I like being able to kind of offer that support and that ability to women to kind of not feel like they have to be 100% on all the time and kind of only be fully committed to this. Because I do my best to be fully committed to it, but even it's school vacation right now, and so I am home and have to be. So
And when you mentioned that, 4+1, right? They work for 4 weeks, then they show 1 week. How does it work with the existing artist that you represent? Are you going to sign the artist that you select after making that show?
I feel like our things kind of like are a constant rotation. So there are some artists that I've shown once and that I may not have the opportunity or the desire to show again in the future. So there's people kind of always coming onto and off of that exhibition schedule. This 5 week time period kind of became available because we rescheduled a few things, and so we were trying to figure out like how to best use it, and this is what we decided how to use it, rather than kind of like adding some weeks to other shows or things like that. It is not stepping on the toes of any other show. And so no artists are going to be like upset that the show is happening, and any future exhibition that this person may have would not be kind of like getting in the way of what has been planned for anyone else either. It will all depend on like how things go, and it could just be a one and done, a nice little exhibition, or it might lead to more in the future. And that's the way it's been when I've done open calls in the past too. I think I've almost always found at least one artist that I wanted to work with out of open calls, but most of the time it's just kind of been a pleasant experience, and I've made some nice connections and moved on and kept in touch with a few artists, but not always exhibited their work.
I see. And when you select the artist, what is the best qualities that attract you personally? What are you looking at?
That's so hard to say kind of going into this blind. I have tried not to look at the submissions so far. I think I'd really like to find someone who I feel like will use the space well, first of all. Like a miniaturist doesn't seem like it's going to make sense. So his work is this big. We have a really large space. At the same time, I don't necessarily want to bring in someone who's where I'm going to have to worry that they're a liability. Someone who works with like a flamethrower. I have to kind of keep in mind like the materials that the person is using. I do want work that I feel like is in keeping with the ethos of the gallery. I'm probably not going to take on someone who does like seascapes for instance, when we do a lot of really contemporary work as well. I also feel like we're going to do a series of interviews with the finalists. I feel like I'm going to need to have someone that I feel like I can trust because they're going to get a set of keys to the gallery. So feeling like I need to be able to trust this person to give them that set of keys and really the use of the space for this entire period of time is going to be very important to me. And then otherwise it'll just be a question of, yeah, what that connection and speaking to the person feels like. And I imagine it's going to be a hard choice, but we'll see how it goes.
Oh, I'm not sure what happened to the computer.
But it's
Yeah.
at, so I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that it like died. It just like totally restarted itself. Get get out of here.
Alongside with a actual physical show, would you also be doing some sort of a online show? Are you considering it?
Yes, so we are going to post this person's work on our website, and we're going to do a social media push as well. So they'll be featured on our social media handles at Beacon Gallery on Instagram, for example. Anyone who watches this, please follow us. And yeah, yes, I have a wonderful gallery associate, Presley, who manages all of that for us. So this person will be in her very capable hands and in mine. And hopefully, we'll be able to schedule some posts and get this person some new followers as well and get some engagement on there. Obviously, that's always a partnership. And so it's really important that whoever we have kind of coming in to do the residency is kind of working with us as well to help us maybe get some process shots, get some shots of the gallery, tell us a little bit about themselves. And the more that they kind of give us, the more we'll have to work with.
And I think we are done. Just before finishing, I want to show you this. It's a postcard with our faces on it.
Goodness.
And someone made it and mailed it to me. So it's from Art DG Lock. And it's super
Thank
cute.
you.
So I just want to show you because it's so sweet.
I love it. Thank you.
Cool. That's all for today. And just want to quickly say thank you to our patrons. Thank you very much for your support. Without your guys, we could not have done all the things we have done. So thank you very much. And thank you very much for Christine. I will leave all the details and links in the description below. So anyone who is interested to apply, you still have 9 days. So hurry up and get in touch.
Yes, and thank you to everyone who reaches out after you watch our videos. I love getting all your emails, so keep them coming. Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
Bye.